Peace, Patrick, Conservative Rap. And in this video, we're going to talk about the change that is coming. Trump is effectively forcing the deep state players to move up their agenda, and it's fascinating to see. We have more jobs in the private sector blossoming. We're shrinking the government. Historically, most administrations have done the exact opposite, right? They've grown this poisonous beast called the deep state throughout bureaucracy. And historically, they would just create government jobs and call that job growth. And now we have more jobs in the private sector. Let's take a look at some examples. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's take a look. And yeah, here's Trump on the National Pulse. Trump job growth is 99.8% private sector. A quarter of Biden jobs were in the government. What's happened? Economic and employment data show 99.8% of the job growth since Trump's inauguration in January has come from the private sector, compared to 3/4 under the final 2 years in the former Biden government. Private sector job growth surged during the first 6 months of Trump's second term. Employment data released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows 99.8% of job growth has been in the private sector, compared to just 75% during former President Biden's last 2 years in office. The data underpins claims that much of the job growth touted by the former Biden government was the direct result of increase in federal government spending and not an actual expansion of the U.S. economy. All right, and we're going to keep it moving here. This post goes on, but I think you get the general gist. Let's move over to X, and I am going to go to messages, share this tab instead, premium, computer, more, right? Bookmarks. All right, here we go, bookmarks. Let's take a quick look at some posting. For every U.S. citizen born after December 31st, 2024 and before January 2029, the federal government will make a one-time contribution of $1,000 into a tax-deferred account that will track the overall stock market. These accounts will be privately controlled by the child's guardians. Just more on the contract.
Here's how the accounts work. For every U.S.
leaders who are for the people versus leaders who are for their owners, which is the deep state nonsense. Let's take a quick listen.
Citizen born after December 31st, 2024, before January 1st, 2029, the federal government will make a one-time contribution of $1,000 into a tax-deferred account that will track the overall stock market. In other words, it'll be pegged to an index that we'll pick, right, Michael? We'll pick it. We'll pick a good one. Maybe you should be the index. I'd like to have that. These kids would be very wealthy if that were the case. That would be good. I think we might do that, Michael Dell. These accounts will be private property controlled by the child's guardians, and in many cases, those guardians will be the parents. We think probably the parents will be the guardians. They'll be open for additional private contributions each year from family, friends, parents, employers, churches, private foundations, and more. This is a pro-family initiative that will help millions of Americans harness the strength of our economy to lift up the next generation, and they'll really be getting a big jump on life, especially if we get a little bit lucky with some of the numbers and the economies into the future. In addition to the substantial financial benefits of investing early in life, extensive research shows that children with savings accounts are more likely to graduate high school and college, buy a home, start a business, and are less likely to be incarcerated. Trump accounts will contribute to the lifelong success of millions of newborn babies. They are fully, and this will be very interesting, I think, for everybody to hear, they are fully funded through targeted reforms in the One Big Beautiful Bill, like the $1.7 trillion in mandatory savings, welfare reforms to stop waste and fraud, a 3.5% remittance tax, and more. Here's
a magnitude of difference between a president who is for the people and for America versus their communist deep state propaganda, the system that wants us enslaved to them. All right, and here's Bitcoin Magazine. Billionaire Ray Dalio says Bitcoin is now emerging as a widely accepted currency around the world because its supply can't be easily increased. Again, guys, you can't print more Bitcoin. As you and I both know, it's not centralized like the Federal Reserve's fiat currency printing system. They can't fictionally produce it on a screen. And this is why historically they didn't want us having it, because it's going to free us from their BS communist slave system. The most effective money is both a medium of exchange and a storehold of wealth that is widely accepted around the world. At the early stage of the big debt cycle, money is hard, which means that is a medium of exchange that is also a storehold of wealth that can't easily be increased such in supply, such as gold, silver, and more recently Bitcoin. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are now emerging as accepted hard currencies because they are widely accepted around the world and are in limited supply. This is how you build and give wealth back to the American people. It's going to be us separating ourselves from the petrodollar fictional fiat currency system where we're not borrowing it, we own it. We own what we work for, which is why you need the external revenue service, not the internal IRS revenue service, to keep everything operational. It's going to be like awesome to see it. This whole fallout we're starting to see with Elon push the riots. We're going to get a little bit more political now. Just follow me. And my question is, if your goal is to stay in a country, why would you be looting, stealing, and burning? Why would you be committing arson, right? This is going to, like, if the real immigrants are doing this, I highly doubt it. It's all page agitators. It's all Antifa. It's all Trantifa. It's potential terrorists. And as we're seeing, it may be multiple events. So let's take a quick look at what's going on. Newsom's hypocrisy is staggering. In 2024, he begged for National Guard at the border to stop deadly drugs, H.R. 590. Now he's suing over their deployment to protect federal agents from violent mobs. Title 10 authority exists because states like Cali can refuse to enforce immigration law. When Newsom wants political cover, he's all for military support. When Trump enforces order, however, it's suddenly quote-unquote overreach. These riots weren't organic. They were direct attacks on ICE facilities and personnel, organized attacks, I might add. Federalizing the Guard wasn't optional. It was necessary to stop a rebellion against lawful authority. Newsom's lawsuit isn't about states' rights. It's about sabotaging enforcement. And I think that's so accurate. Let's move on. You might have seen Elon reposting this, a supercut talking about the legacy media's
say that they have it under control. Carrying a flag is not illegal, as you know. What did happen in 1992 was so different from what we're seeing now. I mean, that was a real riot.
Video after video has shown that these agents are the ones provoking protesters and also making up, aggression by these protesters that later video shows people were not aggressive.
We are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting.
The unrest is isolated. LA is home to millions of people. Most of them are having a normal day here on Sunday.
You know, you've heard reports that there are riots on the streets of Los Angeles. That is not what's happening across the city of Los Angeles.
Governor Newsom's right. There wasn't anything like a riot happening on Friday, Saturday.
We just witnessed a protester thanking a National Guardsman for his service here in California.
LAPD, by most estimates, had this under control last night.
No, I don't think the National Guard is needed now. Things in LA are calm. There was a protest that got a little unruly late at night.
There have been no violence where anybody that was protesting hit anybody, shot anybody, threatened anybody. Nothing has happened.
What is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn.
Most of those demonstrators were very peaceful. They were chanting, they were shouting. People were driving.
Amazing. It's, like George Orwell said, in the end, the bureaucracy, hopefully I can find this. And, shouts to John Fetterman, again, a soon to be Republican, conservative, common sense party member, I see this guy going MAGA in the next, 6 to 8 months. I unapologetically stand for free speech, peaceful demonstrations, and immigration, but this is not that. Facts. This is anarchy and true chaos. My party loses the moral high ground when we refuse to condemn setting cars on fire, destroying buildings, and assaulting law enforcement. You would think this is common sense, but unfortunately, the left doesn't think you and I have that. Here's Karen Bass saying we need to stop the raids. This chaos was started in Washington, D.C. I'm not going to play the clip, but I like Stephen Miller's analysis, right? The threat being made here by Mayor Bass, the mayor of LA, is explicit. The mayor of LA is effectively saying that mob violence is caused by the mere presence of ICE in the city, and violence against ICE will not stop, as in it will continue, unless federal law enforcement is withdrawn. This is the definition of insurrection. LA and California leadership demand the right to illegally import unlimited foreigners into America to control America's entire immigration policy by fiat. And if they're not permitted to do so, they'll allow mobs to target ICE with impunity. Los Angeles and California are demanding the nullification of the election results, of federal law of natural sovereignty, yes, in effect, and of the bedrock constitutional command of one national government. And I agree with him. In effect, it's so obvious that these mobs are their foot soldiers. It's their militia. And it's who Trump is going to be rounding up, I think, sooner than any of us imagine. Miller continues, illegal aliens invaded America. The government of California aided and abetted that invasion. Violent mobs, incited by California leaders, attacked ICE officers to keep them from removing the invaders. California officials refused to send the police to rescue ICE officers, hoping the rioters would succeed in shutting down ICE raids. This is an organized insurrection against the laws and sovereignty of the U.S. Facts. All right. Spoiler alert. Now let's take a look at David Nino Rodriguez. And I think this is probably, of everything I've seen, honestly, the strongest, what would you call it? The strongest summation of events. When we talk about 4D chess, tactical warfare in the narrative sense. Spoiler alert, game over. Soon 14 cities will burn from riots and protest. The globalists made their fatal move. Trump now has the authority to call in the military to conduct full-scale mass deportations and mass arrest. Why? The Elon versus Trump drama caused the elites to make a premature and tragic move. Genius Trump chess maneuvering. The military vehicles and equipment that were supposed to be shipped out for Washington Army Parade will now be used for the cities that are under attack. This was done as cover to not alarm citizens. Some will still be used for the parade, of course, but many of the vehicles and artillery will be rerouted to cities burning from unruly protests in need. Checkmate. Trump is a wartime president and knew this move had to be played. And well said. Thanks for Nino Boxer for putting this out. Give this guy a follow if you can. Next, moving on. Shows you where the American people are and where we stand on this. How likely is it that some people, Rasmussen reports puts out, are promoting mass immigration to the United States as part of a political agenda to replace the existing American population? Dems, 42%. Independents, 55%. Republicans, 77%. All voters, 57%. Great replacement. Most voters suspect it's real. Any clips from Kamala? Kamala, of course, is toting the line with the LAPD mayor and Governor Newsom. But we all know it's BS. We all know it's nonsense. Rasmussen reports again. How important is it that illegal immigrants who commit crimes in America be deported? This is Democrats only. Very important, 43%. Somewhat important, 26%. Not very important, 15%, not at all important, 8%, not sure, 8%. 43 plus 26 is 69% of Democrats. Get the heck out of here. Excuse me. All right, and moving on, I thought this was pretty interesting. Al-Qaeda leader Saeed bin Atif al-Awlaki, Muslim terrorist, calls for Muslims living in the U.S. to carry out jihad and assassinate Trump, VP J.D. Vance, Elon Musk, and other U.S. officials. It's time to crack down on jihadis in America. Mass deport all of them. Hell fucking yes. Excuse my language, but I see. I'm not going to play this and give it too much attention, but these are major cities in the United States underneath this sort of instruction. And I'd say, guys, let's be on the lookout. Let's make sure we're staying aware. And let's, to Laura's point, get these people the heck out of here. It's time to clean up this country. It's time for us as a people not only to wake up to the lies of the Democrats, the plan of the deep state, but to point up as individuals. It's time to clean house, and we may be witnessing a counter-insurrection by the patriots to get this done ahead of schedule. Thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, follow, comment, share, and God bless America.